Happy Wednesday. We're doing notes again. So go grab your sheets of paper and your pencil and then copy down the title, subtracting integers 1.3 on top of your paper. So the first thing we're going to do is a quick review. So pause the video now, try these problems. They should be familiar to you because this is what we did yesterday. And here's your answers. So for number 1, we've got -4. Number 2 is -2, and number 3 is +4. I have a helpful reminder over here of what to do when you have addition. So we've got our same sign, we've got different signs, and the steps that you take. If you got these problems wrong, go rewatch the video from yesterday and send me an email. So today we are talking about subtracting integers. So we have to do some subtraction problems. So let's look at this first one. We have 4 minus 6. How I show that on a number line is I go to my 4 because that's my first number here. And then it says minus 6. Minus means that I'm going down lower and it's going to be 6 times. So 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I land at my -2, so I know that that equals -2, and that's going to be my answer. If I wanted to do -3 minus 1, looks a little bit harder, but it's going to be the exact same steps. So we've got -3 was our start point, and then subtract means go down by 1. So subtract by 1. And so I know my answer is -4. So you are more than able to do these kinds of problems on a number line. However, I don't think anybody wants to sit there and draw out a number line every time they want to do a subtraction problem. So in order to do this quicker, I'm going to teach you a method that we like to use, and that method is called keep, change, opposite. So when you have a subtraction problem, you're going to keep our first number, and then we're going to change the sign, and then we're going to do the opposite of the second number. So keep, change, opposite, I shorten it down to KCO. And so I'll show you how that all works. The first thing that we need to talk about is opposite numbers. So on the previous previous slide, I talked about opposite of the second. And so the question is, what does that mean? So opposite numbers are two numbers that are equal distance from 0 in different directions. Kind of a complicated definition. Simplified that down, and that's just saying that you're going to change whatever sign it is. So if we're looking at this first one, +5, I know the opposite of +5 is going to be a -5. The opposite of a -21 is a +21. And the opposite of 1 million is -1 million. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If you need to, ask me some questions. Get that all erased, and we're moving on to some problems. So what I'm going to have you do is kind of look at the difference between these two. So if I do 4 minus 2, I can do that in my head. I know that's 2. But if I did KCO, it would look like this, because we keep our first number, we change our subtraction to addition, and then we do the opposite of the second number. And so when I keep the first number, it's going to be a 4. When I change that middle, it's going to change to that addition. And then I look at my second number, and it's a +2, so I'm making it into a -2. And so those two problems are exactly the same. They're going to be the exact same answer. It's the same thing for here. This is how that KCO looks. So we've got -3 minus 1. Kind of hard to do. I can't really think about that in my head. But when I use my KCO, that changes to -3 plus -1 because we kept our -3. We changed our subtraction into addition, and then we did the opposite of that second number. Now I can see by using my addition rules that I add those two numbers together and keep the sign. Last one, really confusing to look at, but when we do our KCO, it's a lot easier, and I can see that that's a -3. So we're going to be subtracting integers. I'm going to do these problems with you. We're going to do them step by step. So I always write KCO at the top whenever I see a subtraction problem. So that's telling me to keep the first number, change that subtraction into addition, and then do the opposite of a positive 12, which is going to give me a -12. From there, I see that there are two different signs. We've got one +3 and one -12. So that means that we're going to be subtracting. The difference between those two numbers is 9, and we keep the sign of the bigger number. So my final answer is -9. Second one, same thing. KCO it. CO, which means keep, change, and opposite. Just like the last one, we have it in addition now, which is what we want. And they are two separate signs, which means we're going to be finding the difference between those two. 13 minus 8 gives me a 5, and I know it's going to be a positive 5 because when I compare 13 and 8, 13 is bigger, and 13 is a positive number. Now this last one, they have 3 different numbers for this problem. We're going to do this step by step. I can only handle 2 numbers at a time. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to put a circle around this part that I'm not using so I remember to go back to it. And from there, I'm going to do the 2 numbers. I'm going to KCO them. And so instead of looking at 5 minus -4, I'm now looking at 5 plus 4, which is super easy. We can figure out really quickly that that's 9. Now we have to go back and bring down everything that we did not use. So now we have 9 minus 10. If you wanted to KCO that you could. If you know what that is off the top of your head, you can do that too. So if I KCO that, then it's going to be 9 plus -10, which is going to give me a -1. That was really rough. -1. Now it's your turn. Try these 3 problems using the KCO method to be able to solve them, and I'll have your answers here in a second. And here are your answers, and here's a little bit of an explanation on why I got those answers. So for number 1, you should have gotten -10, number 2 is -3, and number 3 is also -3. And here is your homework. So get out a separate sheet of paper for this, do the work on a separate sheet of paper, and then you're inputting your answers into Canvas just like before.